The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by BankPlus. BankPlus, it's more than a name, it's a promise.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is Out Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Good morning on a Max Effort Monday. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're always powered by DancingRabbitGolf.com. Probably not the best day to do it today, but up to you if they're open. And the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. That's always a good day to hit the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. Welcome in. Good morning. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good one. Safe, good food, good times, good football, lots of football. Bowls, NFL, players opting into the NFL, transfer portal, coaches possibly leaving, all kinds of drama, but we call it drama here in the South. Good morning, welcome in. I've got Blake Mania with me. I am your host, Bo Bounds, I guess. And you can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at BoBounds. And, of course, the Ag Up Equipment Mississippi Ag text line is 601-885-3776. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. And we'll have Brad Edwards, who was with ESPN for 25 years. And, of course, just wrote the book on the Saban-Bama dynasty. Imagine that. He'll join us at 8:30 to discuss some of the two semifinal games and the championship game between Bama and Georgia and some of the bigger bowl games like Ole Miss and Baylor and so on.
Thank God for those bowl games Saturday, because Friday's games were terrible.
They were terrible. They were.
Saturday was one of my favorite bowl days of recent memory.
Well, we had some very competitive games, and it was fun to watch Arkansas. And Kentucky had a heck of a time there in the third and fourth quarter.
The Fiesta and Rose Bowl might be two of the best games I've ever seen in my entire life.
Ohio State and Utah.
Oh,
unreal.
My gosh. That game and the Fiesta Bowl with Oklahoma State and, oh, my gosh, I can't say whoever it was. They were playing.
That's the bowl games for you.
Amazing. Absolutely just an incredible. Notre Dame. Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman.
Yeah. I was more on I was on watching Kentucky, watching Arkansas, and when Ohio State and Utah became a track meet.
That was an incredible game.
It was.
Incredible. They had 3 touchdowns in the span of 3.5 minutes or something like that in that game. Amazing.
I think in 55 seconds they scored 3 touchdowns.
Incredible.
Well, did you get your black-eyed peas and either cabbage or turnip, your health and wealth?
Nope. None of that.
Oh, man. Well, I did. So I'm good to go.
Proud of you.
For 2022. I wonder how long it'll take us to get used to saying 2022.
It usually takes me like a month to not type the last 2 dates of the 2-1 or not 1-9 2-0, yeah, whatever it is. It'll take me about the month of January to remember not to put 2-1.
Yeah. Happy 2022 to you. That's weird.
That's a lot.
Wow. Okay. Huh.
It was a good year in 20.
I can't believe you didn't get your health and well.
No, because Saturday.
I think you've got like a week.
Okay, good. Saturday was a very lazy day for me. I mean,
you're not scared to get on the couch and get
football
comfy.
Was going, Yeah,
football
was going after Friday's kind of fiasco of just not having.
I know those games weren't good.
I mean, who'd have thought Michigan would come out and just lay an egg? And I don't even know if it's them laying an egg or if it's just Georgia decided, all right, we're supposed to be better, so let's just be better.
The latter. Yeah. Georgia's that good.
Yeah.
Georgia is that nasty and that good.
And finally got embarrassed enough to wake up again, right?
Yeah.
By that Alabama game.
Now people, rightfully, I don't know who's going to win, but, now people are going back and thinking, hey, we think psychologically this could favor Georgia.
Hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not getting fooled twice, okay? As George Bush, fool me once, can't get fooled again. All right, now, it's all coaching QB, baby. It's all coaching QB. It's what it comes down to. And the coach in the QB is Alabama. Roll Tide, Paul.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Georgia.
I'm not betting against Nick Saban again.
Okay. All right.
The devil already went down to Georgia, and he stole Kirby Smart's soul.
Oh.
He ain't coming back.
But psychologically, Georgia could turn it into maybe their favor over a 10 or 11-day stretch.
You're saying because they'll think they're the underdog now? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, unfortunately, they're not. It may have swung since then. But, yeah, Bama is the underdog again, which Nick Saban will use that. My point was Georgia would use that they lost by 17 in the first game. Let's start with I guess we started with a little bit of Georgia-Bama. But let's start with the Sugar Bowl and Ole Miss and Baylor and what happened in New Orleans. Ole Miss wasn't playing well early. Matt Corral threw a pick. They missed a field goal. Things weren't going the right way. And then, of course, Corral gets sacked, tweaks his ankle, and he's done for the game. And really, Blake, you got to give it to Dave Aranda from the jump. We've talked about Aranda. He is considered just an excellent defensive coordinator, defensive mind. He's was at LSU for several years. He's now the head coach at Baylor. And Baylor, how about this? I mean, Baylor has better defensive personnel than, Mississippi State.
10 sacks? Hello.
Obviously, Ole Miss's D was better than MSU's, but 10. That Ole Miss offensive line was absolutely obliterated.
Oh, they got
dominated, thrown around, but and also schemed up. I mean, Aranda was doing a lot of fun things for them to get to both Luke Altmaier and Matt Corral. But Corral, I think everybody thought Corral would come back. He's been such an unbelievable warrior. I believe he's the best player in America, best quarterback in America. And I think you just thought, well, he came back against Tennessee.
Yep.
And he came back here and he came back there, and he's just an absolute gamer, and he's what we've talked about. We've had four guys that we've kind of talked about the last few years on this show, special guys, and that is Elijah Moore and Matt Corral and Jake Mangum and Tanner Allen, just people that are different, special, just carry the load, so to speak, and elevate everybody around them. And you thought, man, Corral's going to go to the sideline and come back. Then he went to the locker room, and you thought he still may come back. And then he comes out on crutches, and you realize that it's Luke Altmaier's game to win. And Baylor was really good on defense, and they were one-dimensional and not any good on offense. And so it made it a close game for a long time. I mean, you didn't know how it was going to unfold. There was a lot of back and forth. Neither offense could do much.
For a long time, it was a 96-yard pick six, and that was it. That's all
true.
there was.
And look, Bohannon couldn't throw the ball, Baylor's QB, from me to you. So to say that they were one-dimensional, they threw for 40 yards.
That's incredible.
No, say that out loud.
Jay Barker would be proud.
I mean, Sylvester Croom and Ed Ogeron at Ole Miss and MSU had some, 110-yard games, 115, 127-yard games with those quarterbacks and that whatever offense they claimed they were running back then. Baylor threw for 40 yards.
Better hope you hammered the under.
And he could not, totally one-dimensional. Not the way Matt Corral wanted to go out, but still one of the greatest players to ever play college football in the state of Mississippi. Good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, which is also a sports bar. Big Board coming up next. Brad Edwards, 8:30. Back in a sec. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head. Premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
What's on the big board? What's on the big board?
Good morning. The Big Board is powered by MississippiSportsMedicine.com. Any age, any sport, any injury. MississippiSportsMedicine.com. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. Want to say good morning, welcome in, Happy New Year. Hope you had, I hope you had an extended weekend and a good one. And enjoyed some food and football. Some good food. Blake did not do his health and wealth thing. Total drop of the ball. I mean, you got to have some black-eyed peas and either turnip, green, spinach, or cabbage.
Do you put the quarter in your cabbage?
No.
They say that's
I don't
supposedly...
think when you did that, I didn't make it.
You're supposed to put a quarter in there when
She's
you cook
pretty
it?
funny. She made it. We ate a little bit of it, and then she throws it away because it doesn't smell good.
It's gross.
Yeah.
I mean, black-eyed peas are good, but
black-eyed
cabbage
peas
is
are
disgusting.
amazing. And I like turnip, greens, and spinach.
Sometimes.
Trumped over cabbage.
I've never heard the spinach one. I've heard greens and cabbage.
Okay.
I hadn't heard the spinach one, but yeah. I'm not a...
You're not a what?
I'm not any... I mean,
you don't like any of those, do
I'll
you?
eat the cream spinach at Kessler Prime and stuff like that because it's so much cheese and everything. You know, I mean, it's very little spinach. It's mostly cheese.
Yeah, so you like all the butter and the cheese.
Yeah,
and,
who doesn't?
Yeah.
At that point, you're just hiding the spinach in the butter and cheese.
You're not really, though, a good vegetables for you guy.
No, I love vegetables. There's just certain vegetables I don't. I'll eat.
Okay, well.
Like, give me broccoli over spinach any day of the week.
Oh.
Like, all day, every day. Give me a salad over spinach all day, every day.
Salad?
You know, something like that. You know, green beans, snap peas. There's lots of... I'll eat plenty of vegetables, just not... I don't eat, like, cabbage or spinach.
Yeah, I don't think people eat a lot of cabbage, but maybe they do.
Yeah, not sure. In this neck of the woods.
But here, people eat turnip greens.
All day, every day.
Because they're part of Blue Plate specials throughout this state and other spots.
Yeah.
So you can find turnip greens everywhere.
It's because if you're a restaurant that serves Blue Plates, you can cook turnip greens by the 800 gallons.
Oh, and yeah. Again, the margins. It makes that Blue Plate. Yeah. You sling it for $1 and change, and you sell it for now. I think what $10.99 or something.
At least
it's a good deal if you can serve 200 to 400 people a day and multiply that out. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. So Jerrion Ely and Mekhi Polk both announced that they want to go to the NFL. Jerrion Ely, running back, kind of return specialist for Ole Miss. He's an explosive player. He can house it, give you problems, all that. He's like a pinball and strong as a bull for his size. And then Mekhi Polk stepped into Mississippi State and led the way. I mean, he was by far and away their most productive receiver. And you thought if he came back, gained 10 pounds, like he could be the guy that you haven't had in years. And he's, right at 6'2" and has that build you want and was skinny. But, man, you were thinking if that dude puts on 10 pounds, maybe even 12 pounds, he could be one of the better players, wide receivers, maybe in the country. And he's decided to go to the NFL. Neither one of those guys will be taken high. I guess with the money today, first of all, you got runners that are promising them, who knows what. I mean, they both feel like, what, 6th, 7th round picks?
At best.
Yeah.
The problem, I get why Jerrion Ely left. Short shelf life in the NFL, well, in football in general as a running back, right. But specifically the NFL, I think it's like a year and a half is the average.
Right.
When you go from great to terrible, the average for running backs is less than 2 years. So I get why he's leaving,
okay.
Right? I don't understand the Mekhi Polk one. You can play a long time at that position the way he's built too. Another year in the air raid would have probably done him well. like you said, maturing both physically and mentally.
Maybe could have moved up to like a 4th round
That
pick.
yeah, see, Makai
3rd, maybe
feels
3rd,
like
4th?
a UDFA, undrafted free agent to me. It's an interesting decision by Makai Polk.
Yeah.
Because wide receivers grow on trees right now in the NFL.
Right.
I mean, you can find a wide receiver a dime a dozen. That's why the Bucs don't care, and we'll get into this later. That's why Tampa Bay doesn't care. They're going to cut Antonio Brown and keep moving. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Because you can find those guys. It's why, unfortunately, for the Cowboys, Michael Gallup probably not getting paid by the Cowboys because I can just go find the next one.
Right.
And so
it's why they overpaid. It made no sense to overpay Zeke Elliott.
Makai Polk is an interesting one. That's one. I get Jaron Ely leaving. I don't get Makai Polk leaving.
I get both because of the money in the league now, and I think this is where we are. Kids look at it like, if I can make the roster, that is $680,000.
Or practice squad, even
which is now over 100.
Yeah, you're at like 120.
And that's still at 21 years old. That's just an enormous amount of money. You're not going to get an NIL deal if you're Jerrion Ely or Makai Polk, for that kind of dough. You're not worth. I mean, most of these guys aren't worth any NIL deal. You're just trying to collectively have a fund where you just pay everybody a certain amount, right? What we're realizing is not many of these guys can move product. So Jerrion Ely and Makai Polk can't, have 9 different endorsements. And would they have time to do that in the first place? They don't. So anyway, DJ Durkin, rumors that he is on A&M's top 3 list for defensive coordinators and that he's leaning towards staying in Oxford. So DJ Durkin, Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, who did a magnificent job this year, and the last half of the season carried Ole Miss. It wasn't the offense, it was the defense. The offense struggled as far as offensive scoring efficiency numbers the last half of the year. And DJ Durkin and the Ole Miss defense were really, led by Sam Williams and Finley and that group. They were really good. And by the way, they were good on Saturday night.
I'll say that's the only reason you were in that game.
Right. The Ole Miss defense played really, really well. And I understand that Baylor couldn't throw a forward pass, but still, Ole Miss played well and well enough to keep you in the game after Matt Corral was knocked out and give Luke Altmaier and that offense an opportunity to maybe do some things. They just couldn't do it. I thought Luke Altmaier played well, considering, and showed that he's got a skill set that it looks like he can play SEC football, play quarterback. He made some good plays, some good throws. He's athletic, and we'll see. I still think they go get a transfer guy and let them duke it out. And I don't know what that will look like. The top names are off the board, but we're going to have more guys jump in the portal in the spring and summer. And we'll see how that looks. But I thought Luke Altmaier played well. It's just that Dave Aranda, whether it was when Matt Corral was in or Luke Altmaier, Dave Aranda and that Baylor defense, I can't believe I'm saying this, they were the best unit on the field out of the 4 units. We talked about that throughout the season. When we would size up whoever Ole Miss was playing or whoever Mississippi State was playing, you'd say, all right, you got 4 units. I know you could throw in special teams, but you got 4 units. Who has the best unit? Who has the best quarterback, and so on. And Baylor was very disruptive, and Aranda did some really, really fun, cool stuff on the defensive side of the football.
As Lane Kiffin said, you don't give up 10 sacks and 3 turnovers and win those games.
No.
Hey, he said, we're
because
big
Baylor was so inept on offense, they were still in the game.
Yeah.
Late, it took 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
It was 7-0 because of a 96-yard interception for 3 quarters.
Well, right. And then Ole Miss scored to make it 7-7. And then Baylor scored twice in the fourth quarter. I mean, the game went.
Yeah. Hope you hammered the under.
Yeah, hope you hammered the under. Bartu said it'd be a defensive slugfest.
It's what the numbers played out.
Yeah. Wow. Aranda and Durkin dominated that game. Interesting. Man, we've got some good audio for you on the other side. Matt Corral's Ole Miss career is over. He had a great career. One of the best players to ever play college football in the state of Mississippi. And talking about carrying a team and a program for 2 years. Unbelievable. SEC Insider Hit coming up next. Good morning. Welcome in. ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
One another.
Oh, man. Blake and I were talking about how Antonio Brown got back from New York. And that, I mean, think about how ruthless the NFL is. You show out and act ridiculous. For our listeners, if you didn't see this, Antonio Brown walked off. He's a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He walked off the field during the game, took his shoulder pads off, the whole thing. Walked out of the stadium, threw his gloves and his shirt in the stands. Tampa Bay's playing on the road in New York against the New York Jets. And, you know, Bruce Arians has had enough. That in the NFL, they don't put up with this. Some of the stuff that maybe you can get away with in college or whatever. And so, boom, he's gone. And Blake, he doesn't fly back with the team.
No, he got kiffined.
Oh, like Southern Cal?
He left on the tarmac.
But at least he was back in L.A.
That's right. It's right. He no the
I mean, at least Kiffin had flown back in from Arizona State or Arizona. I can't remember who he had lost to, and was at least on the some kind of L.A. airport tarmac.
The funniness of the Antonio Brown situation is just like because he left in the middle of the game. The whole team is still at the facility and everything. So he obviously rode the team bus to the facility from the airport or from the team hotel, whatever. He had no car, no plane, no anything. So now a video has surfaced, and it's not suitable for air, but a video has surfaced of he and his Uber driver, the guy who picked him up in New York from the stadium.
Was the Uber driver video?
Yes, the Uber driver, because he picked up Antonio Brown.
I can't believe he knew who he was.
Oh, everybody knew. I mean, if in New York, that a guy like that, I mean, it's clearly a guy who's a sports fan. He's driving Uber. It doesn't surprise me at all that Antonio's because of all his chaoticness, he's become a face that's noticeable, and his twisty hair and everything like that. Like, he just kind of stands out. It probably helped that he was like half, dressed.
I was about
like
to
a
say,
football player.
He could have been in Tampa Bay garb.
He was not. He's in like a black shirt and some jewelry and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very low key. But I think Antonio's got a way about him that if you know anything about football, which New York, a big football town, it's not surprising to me that guy knew.
Okay.
But video has surfaced, and we'll share it on the social medias. We can't put it on air, but it's hilarious.
Really?
Antonio Brown, unbothered by the fact that he no longer has a job in this
He's
video.
33 years old. That may be it. But
not maybe. It will be. Tampa was the only team that took. That's what's incredible about this.
The NFL just doesn't.
He had nowhere to go, and Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. Tom Brady stuck his neck out on the line. Tom Brady doesn't have to do anything for anybody.
No,
he was willing to go to bat for Antonio Brown, and this shows you the level of neuroticism of Antonio Brown that he couldn't even handle it for a year. After Tom Brady goes out on a limb and says, I'll go to bat for you. I'll bring you under my wing because I think you still have something left and I can make you better. And Antonio couldn't handle it.
Well, he could last year, and he couldn't. And he didn't this year.
It's incredible.
He got a Super Bowl ring and almost 2 more years in with the NFL, but he comes within a whisker of a $1 million bonus. And so I would think that he is done in the NFL.
Yeah.
The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. They'll take care of you and your family. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. The Uber app will show the driver the name of the passenger. That's a great point, too. Because I don't think he's as recognizable as Blake. Because these guys wear helmets, and I just don't find that NFL guys are as recognizable outside of quarterbacks. But, hey, bottom line is the Uber driver somehow figured it out, and they had some, of course, we get a video on it. And so people will have fun with that on Twitter throughout the day. Let's get into some back into the Sugar Bowl and what's happening at Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So we got Jerrion Ealy saying his goodbyes and heading to the NFL. Your reaction to that? I understand that they rotated at running back, but he was the starting running back for Ole Miss. And I know that Snoop played a lot. I know that Henry Parrish played some. Mekhi Polk, wide receiver for Mississippi State, most productive wide receiver. Is he the most productive wide receiver you've had? And, even more so than what Dak was able to elevate some guys like, Bear Wilson and Fred Ross and so on. This guy was an absolute. Now, granted, I know Mississippi State throws it, 100 more times, 150 more times, 200 more times than anybody else. But Mekhi Polk had a very productive season for MSU and Leach and Will Rogers. And if you're Will Rogers, man, you're like, dude, you don't know if Malik Heath is coming back. People thought he was gone. Then he got in the car accident. And then he made the post that he was coming back. But with all the runners are what you call runners for agents, okay? And they're everywhere. You can go, I'm sure y'all have all done, after Mississippi State and Ole Miss games or any Power 5 game, but definitely SEC, they're all around the locker rooms. Outside the locker rooms, trying to get a bead on the next potential client. Whether it's a lineman, a running back, a quarterback, a corner, whatever. So Jerrion Ealy and Mekhi Polk both heading to the NFL. There was some talk that MSU may think that they can talk Mekhi Polk into coming back. That usually doesn't happen, but you can get a grade here in the next week or so. It may be 2 weeks, I'm not sure. You can get a grade from the NFL, and Ealy and Mekhi Polk will both do that. And they'll tell you where they think you'll go. 6th round, 7th round, maybe undrafted, whatever. I think Ealy is exactly what the league is looking for this day and age. He can be a return specialist. He can be a specialized back, even if, something, well, I don't know if he'll be as good as Tony Pollard, but he's maybe in that type of stylistically what he brings to the game. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's explosive, and he's strong as a bull for his size. And if you make the team, you're making almost $700,000 a year. And if you're drafted, you get a little bonus money. Just depends on where you are drafted. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Then you've got the Sugar Bowl from Saturday night when Corral was bounced, and when you saw the hit, he immediately, you could tell he was hurt. I think because he had been almost Herculean and Superman-like throughout the year. You thought Matt Corral would come back. He had already ripped off a run where he ran over a couple of people, which was, he is an absolute tiger and a bull, and almost for 200 pounds, maybe 200 and change, he is impossible to get down. But he doesn't come back. It's Luke Altmaier's game. Baylor had already picked off Matt Corral and was already disrupting the pocket and dominating the Ole Miss offensive line. So Aranda and Baylor kind of set the tone even before Corral was knocked out of the game. And then you could also tell that Baylor couldn't complete a forward pass. So at that point, you were thinking, first 1 to 10? And then And then Baylor does, the whole pick six thing, and I thought Luke Altmaier played well, considering. I mean, when you're thrown into action against a Baylor team and you haven't ever played any football at the Power 5 level, other than the few plays against, was it Tennessee, where Corral got knocked out too, or was it Auburn? And Luke came in and,
It was like one series. Though.
Yeah, one or two series. Yeah. So, anyway, I thought Ole Miss would win. Of course, I didn't know that Corral would get knocked out of the game. And Ole Miss still played with them all the way through the fourth quarter. It took 2 touchdowns, a nice little jet sweep play by Baylor.
Really well played.
And then they ran a little wide receiver screen. I mean, that was a cool little play on the goal line that they did. And Ole Miss loses. So Ole Miss had a heck of a year. 10-3. Matt Corral was great. The Ole Miss defense the last half of the season was unbelievable. Can you believe that? Top 20 in defensive scoring efficiency? Say that out loud. And now DJ Durkin, the Ole Miss defensive coordinator, has, been getting recruited or wooed by Texas A&M. Now, we don't know. Some people claim he is the first choice. Some people say that he's in the top 2. But there's some rumors that he wants to stay at Ole Miss and in Oxford, that they feel like they flipped the defensive personnel.
Now, they lose a lot of their starting unit on both sides of the ball this year.
Yeah.
Though.
They had a ton of seniors. There were 3 schools that really made hay with their veteran group, and that is Ole Miss and Kentucky and Arkansas. And they cashed in. I mean, those were all older veteran rosters that took advantage of a senior-laden teams. And 2 of the 3 won, and I thought Ole Miss would win. And with Corral, who knows what would have happened. Because I didn't know that Baylor was that one-dimensional. Bohannon could not throw the ball at all. Baylor threw for 40 yards, y'all. 40 passing yards. That's, in this day and age, that is hard. That's hard to believe. So that's where we are. Jerrion Ealy and Mekhi Polk going to the NFL. And I don't think Mekhi Polk will walk it back, but we'll see what Steve Spurrier Jr. and some of the Mississippi State staff can do. When they get back on a plane or get back in their car and they go home for a few weeks after the bowl game or whatever, and you get a runner in a parent's ear or the player/parent telling them this, that, and the other, this is what happens. And then with more money in the NFL, I think players look at it like, do I really care where I'm drafted? I just want to make a team and make almost $700,000 a year right out of the jump, right? I mean, it feels like a few years ago, the minimum was like $250,000. Now we're almost at $700,000. And I think the question for both programs is what's next? Ole Miss loses a ton of players, and Mississippi State's losing guys even though they weren't a veteran-laden team. Charles Cross opting into the NFL, Martin Emerson opting into the NFL, Mekhi Polk into the NFL. There's still talk that Snoop Connor maybe thinking about dipping his toe into the NFL draft. I mean, that's what these guys want to do. They want to go and again start making big. Can you imagine starting off at 21 or 22 years old at almost $700,000 a year? No. That's an enormous amount of money. $700,000 a year at 21 or 22 years old. Now, here's what Lane Kiffin had to say. Blake, let's drop the Kiffin audio on Matt Corral. Again, one of the greatest college players, and I think he'll be really good in the pros, but one of the best players to ever play college football in the state of Mississippi. This is Kiffin on Corral.
He's been unbelievable, and things that you don't see, besides the playing, just how he is. And, I had a cool moment this morning in the team meeting, just listening to him talk. And, I told our own coaches, and players, you can be a freshman and you're supposed to listen to the leaders. You can be a 50-year-old coach and you should listen to this guy. I mean, what he said today to the team about after last season, after the Outback Bowl win, all he wanted to do was come back and impact players the way that Elijah Moore impacted him off the field as a person. So he's just real special. He's going to make a great NFL player and do great for a franchise.
That's Lane Train on Matt Corral. And so Corral's career is over, and he had a magnificent season. And I thought what Lane said is kind of what Lemonis has said about Jake Mangum and Tanner Allen. And we got to give Lemonis credit. He took advantage of some big-time players, and they cashed in, right? Ole Miss, Kiffin inherited Elijah Moore, who was unbelievable last year. And can y'all believe he didn't play against LSU or in the bowl game and still put up those numbers?
Yeah.
And they played 10 regular season games. He only played 8 because Ole Miss forfeited at A&M.
Yep.
So in 8 games, I think I have this right.
That's correct.
In 8 games or 9 games, 8 games, he was unbelievable. And so now Ole Miss, and Elijah Moore was a first round talent, even though he was drafted in the first 2 or 3 picks of the second round by the Jets. And Matt Corral's a first-round talent. And what Lane said about Corral, I thought that was pretty special right there. What Corral did for that team, the commitment. I think he made the defensive players want to play better. All the offensive players around him. Special guy. Also, John Rice Plumlee to Gus Malzahn and Central Florida. Not sure why he waited, but he does get a red shirt year because of the COVID year. And his game, there were rumors he was going to go join Rich Rod at Jacksonville State. Y'all remember Rich Rodriguez? Rumors that he was going to do that. And then John Rice Plumlee to Central Florida. That's like the number 1 or number 2 G5 program in the country. And also, I mean, you get to go to Orlando. They've got a new stadium. They've had a phenomenal program the last 6 or 7 years. This could be a great move for him. If he wins the job, he could be awesome under Gus Malzahn. I mean, the guy could be really good.
So he's still got 2 years left, too.
Yeah, so he's got plenty of time to play and be a good football player for Gus. And Gus loves to run that zone read and all that and kind of a power spread. And, hey, we'll see how what do y'all think? John Rice Plumlee to Central Florida, Jerrion Ealy to the NFL, Mekhi Polk to the NFL. And people seem to believe that DJ Durkin's going to stay at Ole Miss and not go to A&M. Boy, that's putting some faith in what you think you can bring in through the transfer portal and what you think you've signed, because A&M is loaded. I mean, you can go to A&M and look good because they have elite talent on the defensive side of the football. The Out of Bounds Show brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Also, the Ag Up Equipment Mississippi Ag text line is 601-885-3776. Now, I want to switch gears on the bowl games. And the opt-outs are bothering a certain group of fans. Players not playing in the bowl game. And Mississippi State had, some opt-outs. Some of the other teams didn't. And maybe you could ask some questions around that. But Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard and David Pollock, all on the game day set, got a little sanctimonious, in my opinion, on where we're going with bowls. And this is what they had to say when discussing what bowls mean, what players should do, and so on.
Like, what's the difference as a player in saying these games are meaningless when, Des, we played in quote-unquote meaningless games? I mean, I know you guys were here a lot, but I just don't understand. If you don't make it to the playoff, how is it meaningless to play football and compete? Isn't that what we do as football players? We compete. So I don't know if changing and expanding it is going to change anything. I really don't. I think this era of player just doesn't love football.
That's what I was about to say.
Stupid.
We're dealing with a total different mentality when we're dealing with these student athletes nowadays, especially the football players. I mean, their whole mentality right now is about the championship, the playoff. We got to get into the CFB or the CFP. And because of that, they don't value the bowl games. Now, when we were coming up, Herb Street and myself, like, to go to a bowl game was a huge reward for a fantastic season. That's what it meant. It's like, okay, your team played this well, so you're going to be rewarded by going to this bowl game. You're going to get a ring. You're going to get swag. Now, kids don't really care about that. They have a sense of entitlement, and it's like, if we're not going to the one that matters, then, it just doesn't have as much value to them as it did us growing up.
All right, so I just lost brain cells, and I don't know if you did. First of all, they don't love football. That's according to Kirk Herbstreit. They don't love even though they have to work out and spend more time, 100 times more time at the facility than Kirk Herbstreit did when he was in college, or Desmond Howard did when he was in college, or David Pollock when he was in college. And they referenced, well, now it's all about the championship and the playoff. Yes, you work for ESPN. ESPN has made it all about the playoffs and the championship. And yes, Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard, y'all didn't have the playoffs when you were going through. And guess what? It would have been the same for you if y'all were playing. If Kirk Herbstreit was the starting quarterback for Ohio State today, and Desmond Howard was the starting wide receiver for Michigan today, it would be the same thing. Here's where I think I can turn it on Herbstreit and Desmond Howard and David Pollock. Remember all the opt-outs that we had from Ohio State last week? Guess what? That game was great. In other words, those opt-outs didn't impact whether the game was great. Both teams decided to come to play. Utah hit them in the mouth early. And if you watch that, it was very entertaining. You probably don't even care about Ohio State or Utah football, but they were scoring, and it was fun and explosive plays. Not every game. Guys, when we're in the conference games in October, November, not every game's awesome. I mean, sometimes we have Ole Miss and LSU or State and Auburn, and the games, it's not compelling. It's not awesome. I mean, is Bama beating Tennessee for the 16th year in a row by an average margin of 26 points? Is that compelling to you?
Georgia plays Vanderbilt every year. So.
Yeah. I mean, Georgia plays Vandy, and so do several other teams. And so that was a total swing and miss by Herbstreit and Des. But to say that players don't love football, because I think starting this week, maybe next week at the latest, they've got to go back in the weight room, starting maybe by Wednesday, Thursday, Monday at the latest next week, and start being in the facility for 6 to 8 hours a day. You didn't have to do that in 1988 when Herbstreit was playing, or whenever Desmond Howard was playing, 91, 92, or whatever. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. Brad Edwards with ESPN, 25 years with ESPN, will join us at 8:30 on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN.